My name is Sophia, and the day my own family betrayed me was the day I stopped being their daughter. It happened on a night that was supposed to be perfect. The house was glowing with golden lights, music filled every corner, and laughter echoed like nothing could ever go wrong. My parents stood proudly in the center, welcoming guests like royalty, and my sister, my perfect, flawless sister, stood beside them, smiling like she had already won everything life had to offer. And me? I stood in the shadows, invisible. But that wasn't new. I had always been the other daughter, the one who didn't quite fit, the one who worked twice as hard but never got half the recognition, the one they whispered about when they thought I wasn't listening. Why can't you be more like her? I had heard that sentence my entire life. But that night, they crossed a line I never imagined. Because that was the night they destroyed me, in front of everyone. It started with a speech. My father tapped his glass, and the room fell silent. His voice carried pride, warmth, and something else, something cold. "We are gathered here today," he said, smiling at my sister, "to celebrate success, honor, and truth." Truth. That word still makes my stomach twist. Then he turned, not to me, but toward the crowd. And sometimes, truth comes at a cost. I remember feeling a strange chill crawl up my spine, like my body knew what was coming before my mind did. Then my sister stepped forward, tears in her eyes, fake tears. "I didn't want to do this," she said softly, her voice trembling just enough to convince everyone. "But I can't stay silent anymore." Every eye in the room locked onto her. And then, she said my name. "Sophia betrayed this family." Silence. Heavy, suffocating, deadly silence. I laughed, actually laughed, because it sounded ridiculous, absurd, impossible. "What?" I said, stepping forward. "What kind of joke is this?" But no one laughed with me. Not my parents, not the guests, not even the people who had known me my entire life. They were all watching me, like I was a stranger, like I was guilty. "She's been stealing money," my sister continued, her voice breaking perfectly on cue. "From the family business, I have proof." Proof. That word hit harder than anything else, because I knew one thing: I had done nothing wrong. "Show it," I said immediately, my voice steady, stronger than I felt. "If you have proof, show it." And she did. A screen lit up behind her. Bank statements, transfers, my name, my signature. Every single detail, perfectly crafted, perfectly forged. I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. "This is fake," I said, shaking my head. "This is not real. Someone set me up." But deep down, I already knew who. I turned to my sister, and she smiled. Not the sweet, innocent smile everyone else saw. No, this was different. Cold, sharp, victorious. "Stop lying, Sophia," she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. "You lost." Lost? No, not yet. "You think I did this?" I asked, looking at my parents, searching for something. Anything. Belief, doubt, love. But all I saw was disappointment. My mother shook her head slowly, tears streaming down her face. "How could you do this to us?" she said. And just like that, I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was their disgrace. Security was called. Guests whispered. Phones came out. And in a matter of minutes, my entire life collapsed. Dragged out of the house I grew up in. Accused. Humiliated. Erased. And the worst part? No one asked for my side. Not once. That night, I lost everything. My family, my reputation, my home. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that they had made one fatal mistake. They underestimated me. Because while they were celebrating my downfall, I was remembering everything. Every detail, every look, every lie. And one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just betrayal. This was planned. Carefully. Precisely. And my sister? She wasn't just involved. She was the mastermind. I spent the next few days in silence, no calls, no messages, no one checking if I was okay. The world had already decided who I was. A thief, a liar, a disgrace. But I wasn't going to beg for their belief. I wasn't going to cry for their approval. No. I was going to do something much more dangerous. I was going to prove them wrong, but not the way they expected. Because I didn't just want my name back. I wanted the truth. And I wanted revenge. Real revenge. The kind that doesn't just expose lies, but destroys the people who created them. So I started digging. Quietly. Carefully. The same way they planned my fall, I began planning my rise. I went back to the beginning. The business, the accounts, the access logs. And that's when I saw it. Something small. Something almost invisible. A login. Not mine, but made to look like mine. Same timestamps, same patterns. Too perfect, too clean. And that's when it hit me. Whoever did this knew me, knew my habits, knew my access, knew everything. And there was only one person who had that level of detail. My sister. But I needed more than suspicion. I needed proof. The kind they couldn't deny. The kind that would make them regret ever doubting me. Days turned into nights, and nights into obsession. I followed every lead, checked every system, traced every digital footprint, and slowly, piece by piece, the truth started to surface. Hidden accounts, deleted files, encrypted transfers, and at the center of it all, her. But the deeper I went, the darker it got. Because this wasn't just about money. This was bigger, much bigger. And what I discovered next changed everything. Because it wasn't just my sister. Someone else was involved. Someone powerful. Someone who had been pulling strings from the shadows. And suddenly, this wasn't just a family betrayal anymore. This was war. And they had no idea who they just created. Because the girl they humiliated, the daughter they disowned, the sister they destroyed, was gone. And in her place was someone they would never be able to control again. My name is Sophia, and this time, I'm not coming back for forgiveness. I'm coming back for the truth. And when I do, I won't just clear my name, I'll destroy theirs. This is only the beginning. You're wrong, because betrayal? That was just the beginning. The real story starts when I decided to fight back. After that night, I disappeared. Not dramatically, not loudly, quietly, like a ghost. No social media, no calls, no explanations. I let the world believe whatever story my family fed them, because sometimes silence is the most dangerous move you can make. They thought I was broken, ashamed, hiding, and in a way, they were right. But what they didn't understand was this: I wasn't hiding from them, I was preparing. I moved into a small apartment across the city, nothing fancy, just 4 walls, a bed, and a desk. But that desk? That's where everything changed. Because that's where I started rebuilding myself, piece by piece. I replayed that night in my head over and over again. Every word, every glance, every second. And one thing kept bothering me. It was too perfect. The evidence, the timing, the emotional performance. No mistakes, no hesitation. That's not how lies work, unless they've been rehearsed. So I asked myself one question. How long had they been planning this? Days? Weeks? Or months? That question led me back to the company's servers. Access logs don't lie. People do. And when I finally got in, I saw something that made my heart stop. There were entries under my name, from days I wasn't even in the office. Late-night logins, early morning transfers, activity patterns that looked like mine, but weren't. Someone had studied me, copied me, replaced me. And they didn't just want to accuse me, they wanted to erase me. I started tracking the IP addresses tied to those logins. Most of them were masked, hidden behind layers of security. But one slipped, just for a second, just long enough. It traced back to a private network. And not just any network. It was linked to an office building I knew very well. The same building, where my sister had recently started spending more time. Coincidence? No, not anymore. I went deeper. I pulled archived footage from the building's security system. It took hours to bypass everything, but when I finally did, I saw her, walking in, late at night, alone. Or at least, that's what I thought. until someone else stepped into frame. A man, tall, well-dressed, confident, the kind of man who doesn't follow rules because he owns them. I didn't recognize him at first, but then I zoomed in, paused the frame, and my blood ran cold. I had seen him before, at family events, business meetings, standing beside my father like he belonged there. His name? Daniel Reeves, my father's most trusted business partner, the man who helped build our company from the ground up, and now, the man secretly meeting my sister behind closed doors. Suddenly, everything made sense. This wasn't just jealousy. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was strategy, calculated, cold, and far more dangerous than I imagined. But the question was, why? Why frame me? Why destroy me? What did they gain? So I kept digging. And what I found next changed the entire game. Hidden within the company's financial records was something no one was supposed to see. Offshore accounts, large transfers, amounts far bigger than anything they accused me of. Millions, moving quietly, carefully, illegally. And the names attached to those transactions? Not mine, not even my sister's. Daniel Reeves, and my father. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. No, this couldn't be right. My father? The same man who looked me in the eyes and called me a disgrace? The same man who didn't even hesitate before throwing me out. He wasn't just fooled, he was involved. That's when it hit me. I wasn't the target, I was the cover. They needed someone to blame, someone believable, someone disposable. And who better than the imperfect daughter they never fully trusted? I wasn't just betrayed, I was sacrificed. And suddenly, this wasn't about clearing my name anymore. This was about exposing all of them. But I had to be careful, because if they could plan something this big, they wouldn't hesitate to destroy me again, permanently. So I changed my approach. No more emotional reactions, no more rushing. This time, I would play smarter. I started gathering everything: copies of files, transaction records, security footage, encrypted backups stored in places no one could reach. Because if something happened to me, I needed the truth to survive. Then, I made a mistake. A small one, but in this kind of game, even a small mistake can cost everything. I got careless. I accessed a file I shouldn't have, too quickly, too directly, and within minutes, I knew. Someone was watching. My system glitched, just for a second, but it was enough. A warning. I froze, heart pounding, breath shallow. They knew, or at least, they suspected. And then, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it, didn't answer. It rang again, and again, and again, until finally, I picked up. Silence. For a few seconds, nothing. Then a voice, low, calm, dangerous. You should have stayed quiet, Sophia. My blood turned to ice. I didn't speak. I didn't move. You always were curious, the voice continued. That's your problem. I knew that voice. I had heard it before. At dinners, at meetings, at home. Daniel Reeves. You don't understand what you're dealing with, he said softly. Walk away now, and maybe you'll still have a life. Maybe. That word echoed in my head. Not a promise, a threat. I finally found my voice. You framed me, I said, my tone steady despite the storm inside me. A pause. Then, a quiet chuckle. No, he replied. You framed yourself, by being exactly who we needed you to be. And then, the line went dead. I sat there, staring at my phone, hands trembling, mind racing. Fear, real fear, started creeping in. Because this wasn't just about proving innocence anymore. This was bigger than me, more dangerous than I ever imagined. But then, something inside me shifted. Because fear? Fear is only powerful when you let it control you. And I was done being controlled. They thought I would run, hide, disappear. But they forgot one thing. They already took everything from me. So what did I have left to lose? Nothing. And that's what makes someone truly dangerous. I stood up, walked to my desk, opened a new file, and started writing. Not just evidence, a plan. A precise, calculated, unstoppable plan. Because if they wanted a war, I was ready to give them one. But I wouldn't attack blindly. No, I would wait, watch, and strike at the perfect moment, when they felt safest, when they thought they had already won. That's when I would come back. And when I do, I won't be alone. Because now, I know their secret. And soon, the whole world will too. My name is Sophia, and they just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Because they didn't just betray me, they created their own destruction. And this is the part they never saw coming. Because while they were busy watching me, I was already inside their world. Not as the broken daughter, not as the disgraced sister, but as something far more dangerous, a threat they couldn't see. After that call from Daniel Reeves, I knew one thing for sure. Time was no longer on my side. They were watching, waiting, probably already planning their next move. So I did what they least expected. I stopped reacting, and I started controlling the game. First, I needed leverage. Not just enough to prove I was innocent, but enough to destroy them completely. Because exposing the truth? That wasn't revenge. That was justice. And justice is too clean, too easy. No, I wanted them to feel what I felt. The humiliation, the fear. The moment when everything you built collapses in front of everyone. So I built something bigger. I reached out to someone I never thought I would trust again. Ethan Cole, a name my father used to respect, until he didn't. Ethan was a former senior analyst in our company. Brilliant, quiet, the kind of person who sees patterns others miss. He left suddenly a year ago. No explanation, just gone. At the time, I didn't question it. Now, I knew better. When I contacted him, I expected hesitation, maybe even refusal. But instead, he replied with just one line. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. That's when I knew. He already knew everything. We met in a place no one would think to look. No cameras, no connections. Just two people sitting across from each other, with the same enemy. They're bigger than you think, he told me. I know, I replied. He leaned forward slightly. No, you don't. And then he showed me. Files, hidden records, internal communications, things even I couldn't access. And suddenly, the truth became something much darker. Daniel Reeves wasn't just moving money, he was laundering it. Through multiple companies, through fake contracts, through shell accounts. And my father? He wasn't just involved, he was dependent, controlled, trapped in something he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. This has been going on for years, Ethan said quietly. You were never meant to find out. I clenched my jaw. Then why frame me? Ethan looked at me, not with sympathy, but with clarity. Because you were the only one who could expose them, without even trying. That hit harder than anything else. They didn't just choose me because I was easy to blame. They chose me because I was dangerous, and they knew it. So what now? I asked. Ethan didn't hesitate. We end it. Simple words, but the weight behind them? Massive. Because ending it didn't mean exposing a scandal. It meant collapsing an empire. And empires don't fall quietly. They burn. The plan took weeks, every step calculated, every move precise. We gathered everything. Financial trails, audio recordings, video proof. Even insider testimonies. Because when this goes public, it has to be undeniable, unstoppable. And then, the perfect opportunity came. A charity gala, hosted by my family. High-profile guests, media coverage, investors, influencers, everyone who mattered, in one room. The same kind of event where they destroyed me. Poetic, right? Ethan looked at me the night before. This is your last chance to walk away, he said. I smiled. They had theirs. The night of the gala, I walked in like I never left. Same confidence, same presence, but this time, I wasn't invisible. Heads turned, whispers spread. Shock filled the room. Because to them, I wasn't supposed to come back. My mother froze when she saw me. My father's face went pale. And my sister, oh, She smiled,